Welcome back to a new video. So this was my workout from yesterday on Sunday, and the goal of the session kind of changed a little bit. So my original plan was like 5x3 snatch, 3x3 clean, 3x3 or 5x3, something with rack jerks and then back squats and all of that jazz. And honestly, not a terrible plan, but as I was training, I was like, I can just do this without rest and not necessarily the same exact workout. So I made some adjustments to the weight as well as the repetitions that I had originally planned. So the original, like I mentioned, was a 5x3 in the snatch. I was going to potentially do it at 80 kilos. I bumped it down to 70 and did 3 sets of 3 and just decreased the rest time pretty significantly from what I otherwise would have. So just kind of did them continuously. Sorry, my chair was creaking a little bit. And that was really challenging from a cardio standpoint, which is interesting because the weight wasn't really that difficult, but I was getting like a little bit of a low back pump and my lungs were getting a bit of a workout, which honestly felt pretty good because it meant that I have a lot of room to grow in 3x3s, and it's only 70 kilos, so I can pretty continually or pretty easily add weight next week when I do this similar session, and potentially be pretty aggressive with the jump because I know I can manipulate the rest time to make it easier. I don't know if you heard the heat kick on in the background, but I do apologize if you do hear that humming. I try my best to edit the audio to make it sound decent, but sometimes it still picks up that kind of stuff. But for the cleans, I kept the weights at the weight that I had planned at 110, but instead of doing 3 sets of 3, decided just to do 3 doubles and same kind of thing, just shorter rest. When I do those, I walk off the screen. That's just to get chalk. I actually don't think I used any chalk for snatching just because I had straps. Usually I still need some chalk, at least when I initially start, because the bar will actually be slippery because my hands are just not very good at grip without chalk at all, or at least a little bit to dry them out. But they were good on this day. I think it's just because the weight was so light. It wasn't really too big of a deal. And then after the cleans, did jerks from the rack, same with that 110. And really just trying to do all the lifts with good technique. There isn't really anything radical I was trying to change or do. Thinking a little bit about what my feet were doing, and trying to, when I raise them up, when you kind of see that dynamic start, trying to bring them down in the same spot, because sometimes I will point them out further, and I don't necessarily think that's like a technical fault or something that's going to make me miss a bunch of lifts, but I think it could potentially lead to some inconsistencies. And there's really no point of not just having my feet in the position that they're going to be, in the angle that they're going to be pointed at the beginning, just so there's not any inconsistencies with that. Looking at a lot of my clips of my snatches and cleans, I don't really see my feet doing weird stuff like being further out or further in or anything like that. But it's just something that I was like, something to think about. Obviously, the normal stuff of keeping the bar close and trying to, catch it in a stable position. I was also, as I was warming up a little bit, playing around with how I was trying to, I guess, internally rotate my shoulders, but just trying how I was feeling of the flexion of the shoulder, just what it was doing when it was in the overhead position for the snatch, and trying to feel it in a stable position. And I don't know, it just felt, just messing with little things like that. Nothing really, earth shattering. It is 70 kilos, so it's not a very difficult weight for me, but from a cardio standpoint, it was. And I actually wasn't really sure that I was actually going to train on this day. That's one of the reasons I waited, because I drove back to my house in the morning. I got home at probably like 2:50 or 2:40, right before 3 o'clock. And actually in the morning, I was helping my dad. It wasn't really difficult manual labor, but they had just bought a shed and wanted to move a bunch of stuff from the garage out to the shed. And like I said, it wasn't really that difficult. It was just cold, but it didn't actually take that long at all. And that's because we were both doing it. But so I did something in the morning, I suppose. Not really a true double training session, but this one, I thought maybe I would do the other workout I had planned, which was like a snatch pull type day and overhead press. But I was pretty motivated. It was weird because I didn't really want to go to the gym, but I was pretty motivated to train. And I suppose that's something that happens more obviously in the winter when I have to drive, when It was still probably 25 degrees outside, even because I think it was 20 up where my hometown is, and it's usually a couple degrees warmer down where I live now. And so it was probably in the mid-20s, which is still like really cold. And I knew I didn't want to go out and try to do stuff unless it was, pulls or pressing, like easy stuff to do. But that was probably the other big change that I decided to make with this session. So originally it was going to be snatch volume, clean volume, jerk volume, and then the most aggressive would be the back squat volume. Potentially some bodybuilding work, which I'll talk about here in a second. But because of how much I was working from a cardio standpoint, I decided that it would probably be a good idea to push the squats into the day 2 type day, since there isn't going to be weightlifting work like this necessarily. Like I'm gonna have snatch pulls and overhead presses, so like derivatives of the movements in a sense, but not directly doing it, and mentally easier movements. Like I'm not really thinking too hard to do an overhead press or whatever. But I decided to push them on that day because I was actually working pretty hard cardio wise, and I was like, I'm probably gonna be able to do better squats tomorrow, at least being able to push them. And the goal is to do 3 sets of 10. I would like to do them at like 165 would be really cool, or maybe 170, but that would be really heavy, so I don't know how possible that would be. Kind of warm up and see what I can do. I might do like a set at 170 and then decide to go down, but we'll see. And that was kind of one of the other things, is like I wanted to be pretty work hard at the back squats, so I knew like I wasn't going to be able to on this day. Plus I didn't take pre-workout on this day as well, so I was like I was going to be really fighting it to do good back squats, and I think I would have been okay, but also I would have been getting home at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. I think I ended up getting home at like 11 at night. I didn't start training till like 9, and that was the other benefit of a session like this, is I was able to do it really quick. Even with the bodybuilding stuff, I was able to get it done really quick and get a lot of productive repetitions in. And I think putting the back squats on the day 2 and the 4 and 6 or whatever it will end up being, putting them on the other alternating days will be good, because it will allow me to work harder at those movements, but also to allow me to focus, I guess, work harder at these sessions as well, where I'm doing the weightlifting focused work, and be more aggressive with either the rest time or the weights or whatever, and not be worried that I'm going to be spending energy on clean doubles that are going to impact me on the back squat reps that I'm going to do. But generally, I'm getting a feel of how I want the week to look, and I think this is a good like day 1 type day where I get volume in the main lifts, get some bodybuilding work in, and then kind of am ready for the next session, which will be pulls, pressing, and squats, as well as some front rack holds. What will be interesting is how I approach the next day, because I'll have to go to the gym again because it's still pretty cold outside, and I just don't really want to train out in the cold. Usually, obviously when it's warmer you can train better, but my goal the next day is to do, actually it'll be clean pulls, not snatch pulls now that I think about it, but clean pulls, and then some sort of pressing movement. So in this case, probably overhead press, and then the back squats, like I said, with the front rack holds to end as well. But the goal with that session obviously is more of the strength work. But what I will have to kind of decide is, originally I put just overhead press every time I have the day 2 type session, and then on the other days have snatch pulls. So really, I guess one of the other days would be a front squat. So 2 back squat days, a front squat day in the middle, and so 3 total days of squatting. And then pulls, same thing, 3 total days, 1 clean pull, 2 snatch pulls, and pressing 3 times a week, I suppose, as well. But what I want to decide with the pressing is whether to do just all overhead pressing, or to add in some stuff like snatch push press. Potentially also, I just thought this morning when I woke up that on a session like the day after this could be a good day to do a snatch balance or a snatch push press, something that's more, working on the snatch in a sense, but in a more dynamic way, so not just a strict press. But we'll kind of have to see, because with this kind of block of training, it's not necessarily all up in the air how I want the week to look, but I know like what I want the Friday or the heavy day of the week to look like, and then I'm kind of working back to know that I responded well when I did these back squats, how I did them before, and I was like, I kind of want to do more front squats. I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to hit a clean PR, is that I've implemented more front squats back into training, and so I just have that stronger front rack. But of course I want to add more jerks in just to get better at those. But on the other days like the session, so this is, I'll do once a week, and then the next time I have a weightlifting specific session will be all variations of the movements, but still kind of in the same theme. So I'll have a snatch variation, a clean variation, which for the snatch might be like hang snatching, and then for the cleans, probably just a power clean, and then for the jerk, push press plus power jerk, I'm undecided exactly. Mostly about the weight. I think the exercise is fine, but just playing around with stuff like that to have kind of like today is like a volume day, and then the day 3 is more of a technical focused day, but still doing volume. So it'll just be lighter intensity, with more, I guess the difficulty will be with the variations, not so much with the weight. And then the third weightlifting day, or weightlifting focused day, will be heavier with more focus on singles. And just figuring that out will be interesting too. Is also on the day 5 when I'm doing the heavier weightlifting stuff, will have done back squats the day before, so it might potentially impact those days, but that'll be something to look at kind of later in the peak to see if I want to adjust one of the days of back squats back to that day 5 or whatever. But I don't know, I'm playing with it and seeing how it looks in a week, because the overall goal is still to train every day, and obviously do productive training. So that's the tricky part, is like if I set out with the goal of I want to be able to train 7 days a week, it's not optimal unless you do a lot of good planning. And I think it can be very optimal, but you have to plan for it in a sense that you have sessions that are really important, and then you have more auxiliary sessions that aren't as important as the main days. Like obviously like a day like this where I'm doing snatch, clean, and jerks are really important. But if there was a day, for instance, and say tomorrow like I couldn't train, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would just be less strength work that I get in. But I kind of view this weightlifting day as important, especially for me, because I generally have an excess of strength. And it would be kind of the opposite if I was relatively weaker, that I would need to focus more on the strength work. But kind of give yourself the ability to if there was a day you had to miss, what day you'd want to miss. Like I wouldn't want to miss the day 5 where I'm doing the heavy singles on the different lifts, or at least heavier singles on those days. But if I had to miss like this kind of day, I guess you can make it work. I don't know, it's stuff that you kind of think about when you're planning out with different kinds of training and stuff. But I'm also, I guess I have a little bit more time. I'll talk about the accessory work. So I don't know if this will be how I continue to do it, but at least yesterday, or Saturday I should say, I did biceps, or not biceps, triceps. And then today on this session, or Sunday on this session, I did the dumbbell power cleans. So kind of like external rotators with the dumbbells. You start them at your side, then you kind of upright them, row up, and then externally rotate your arms. Did those and biceps. So I don't know if I'll just alternate the bodybuilding work to be shoulders and biceps on one day and then triceps on the other. We'll kind of see. Some of that depends on going to the gym, and exercises at the gym tend to have more variety, but also it's easier to do machines at the gym, of course. But we'll see. That's kind of the idea, is have these main lifts and then upper body accessories as the main thing I'll do on top of everything, because one, they're not generally taxing from a CNS standpoint, but also that's generally where I'm weaker. If I had to pick an area, upper or lower, I'd pick upper to be where I'd focus on accessories. But pretty it was a nice session. I was pleasantly surprised at how I felt, even though it was late at night and I didn't have the most energy. But a good starting point for this will end up being a 10-week block that should end around the end of February, and then that will kind of set me up nice to know where I'll stand for probably another 10-week block that will take me, or maybe even longer. I don't know. I have to look at the calendar around that point, but to see what it will take me to the next block close to that May competition. But feeling good, moving well, and and I appreciate all the new subscribers. It's kind of crazy. I'm over 3,000 now. I suppose it's through shorts and stuff. Some of them have done well, but And it's pretty cool to see, but appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Have a great one. Peace.